Welcome, guys, to another episode of the Tennis Fans Podcast. This is Tuck.
And this is Tri. Welcome back.
So this week we would like to speak a little bit about our journey back into tennis. It definitely made a really huge impact on our lives, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's definitely made a huge impact on our life. But before we get started, I want to give a quick shout out to my little brother, Thuc here. He got featured on the Babolat Instagram site for their Babolat Family Friday, where the post received thousands of likes. So congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, definitely our journey back to tennis has been a really good one. Had a really good impact on both our physical well-being, but I would say mental as well. So I'll pass the mic on to my brother first. But one of the questions I want to ask you about is like, we kind of talked about briefly in our very first episode of how we started out playing tennis, but the one thing that we haven't let the audience know about is, there's obviously times since we started that we've stopped. So wanted to definitely expand on that today. So explain to the audience here how you kind of follow through in your tennis journey since you started playing tennis.
Yeah, so I would say that we both started learning about pretty much the same time.
Yeah.
Tennis, I feel like in the beginning for me, just I felt like it was just like an activity that I needed to participate in, but I wasn't all too passionate about.
Yeah.
So I mean, I would say eventually, like, I just got kind of burnt out and just quit after like a little bit. And so,
Well, one of the things I want to mention is that I noticed about you and where you playing tennis now is the difference in your how your body transform. One of the things that I think is very discouraging for a lot of youngsters, especially when you started playing back in the day when you were like 10 or 12,
yeah,
is the fact that your body hasn't fully developed yet.
right.
And a 12-year-old body playing tennis versus an 18 to 25-year-old body playing tennis is different. Like you can handle, like, the court size to you is different. So that's when I think like you start enjoying tennis a lot more, is when you actually grow into your adult body and you can handle the pace of the ball, the size of the court a lot more.
I do vaguely remember like learning back then, and I guess it's like the whole height thing too.
Yeah.
Like standing there and the net already being like pretty much like shoulder height.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Exactly.
that in itself was like very like
And that's why a lot of, I think it's a very crucial age for a lot of youngster who they kind of get discouraged is because of like the physical thing. Once you get over that hump and you hit puberty and you went through that transformation, that's when tennis is a lot better. So like I feel like to a lot of younger people out there that is like 10, 12, that's kind of experienced the game like, oh, I'm not fit enough for this, or the court is too big, or the ball is too heavy, the racket's too big for me. I would say like stick it through, because in your cases that wasn't happen, right? You actually gave up. So
Right.
I'll let you talk about that part even more, but you actually gave up because personally for me I feel like it was the physicality standpoint, you weren't able to handle it.
no.
So that's why you gave up. Whereas for me, I started when I was 15.
Yeah.
So I already like was in my adult body. I was like 5'8" or something like that already.
Yeah.
When you were literally like 5 foot,
Yeah, probably.
four something. So that's why like I'll let you talk about it more. But like you actually stopped playing and do something else.
Yeah, and then I guess also like the other aspect of it is that you need to be able to have fun as well while you're out there.
Yeah,
I think like the big on top of like the whole physical thing is that like that made me really frustrated, and it's just like a lot of the time I'm out there like I just didn't feel like I was having fun, and like if you're not out there and enjoying yourself, you just won't be able to put in as much effort, and you won't be able to improve.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like I think having fun is like the big thing, and so I guess to just to continue on a little bit more, like a little bit before the pandemic started, like I was in university at the time, and like I would say it was like a pretty decently dark time in my life where our dad passed away, and also on top of that I was kind of transitioning into like university, And so like it was just like a very like hectic and stressful time. And so like that.
But that at that point in your life, you already like stopped doing physical activity whatsoever, right?
Right.
Because so after you quit tennis, you do like martial art for like 6 years or something. I can't remember, maybe 3 or 4 years. I could have forgot.
Yeah, it
But then
was.
after that, you started school and you literally just stopped. No physical activity
Yeah,
whatsoever.
throughout high school, I did mixed martial arts for probably a good 5 years, and then once college hits, I was just like I stopped doing any type of physical activity, and like I think it was like during that time, like it was like stressful, and then it was just like no physical activity, and it was just the amount of like eating as well. It's just like very bad eating habits and just bad diet in general. Um, uh, yeah, I think 2019, I was probably at my like heaviest ever.
Tell them about your what are the specific diet that you have.
The diet was pretty bad. Like I was like I think my heaviest was like 197, 198 or something
You're
like
close to
that. And
200.
and I would say that that's a pretty decent amount of weight for someone that's like 5'8". We would buy Ritz crackers that has like cheese inside of them, and then like I would have like two boxes on my desk at any point in time, and I would eat it as if I was eating cereal. So I'd like pour in like a bunch of these Ritz crackers and eat it with milk as if it was cereal, and it was that bad. Um,
But it was good.
it was good at the time, but now I just don't think I can ever go back to that.
Yeah.
But the pandemic hit, and I mean, like you can kind of go into like
Yeah.
your side of the story a little
Yeah.
bit
So
more.
now like you stop at pandemic for so I'll build my story up to the pandemic start as well. So I played tennis. Like in the first episode, I said I started playing around 14, 15, played throughout high school. And then when I started college, I still played because I was super passionate. It was when I started college around 2010, 2011, 2012. I was super passionate still. And um, I still hit up like all. I stopped playing with like the folks from my high school team because everybody moved away from college.
Yeah.
So then I started playing with this guy named Chris, and I pretty much would hit him up every single week to play.
Yeah.
That's how me and Chris become really close. And again, he'll appear in a later episode to talk about his tennis journey. But we start playing every single week, and if he doesn't want to play, I would phone him, and I was so into it to a point where I would drive all the way to his college, and then we would both go in and play every single day. And I played pretty much all the way up until 2015 at the end of my college career, where I was offered a job at a consulting company that's in San Francisco, where I had to move away. And that actually was the beginning of me being distanced away from the game. So even though I was really passionate and I would know everything about tennis, there was a period maybe from 2015 to 2017, 2018, where I would just not even focus on tennis anymore.
Like you would just go to work,
Yeah.
and then
It was
like soccer and
like
stuff, right?
yeah, that at that point in my life, like 2014 is when our dad 2013 is when our dad got diagnosed with cancer.
Right.
So that hit both of us a lot mentally, specifically me, where I was just like, okay, I have to focus on making a career out of myself. I cannot be distracted by tennis
Right.
anymore or like side stuff. So I would go to so when I actually went to San Francisco and work, my mentality was like I got to make a career for myself from like the business world. I got to focus on doing well at my job. And that really took a lot of time. Like I literally I studied for the CPA,
Right.
and that took a lot of time. And working full time, that's like 50, 60 hours a week plus studying. There was no chance to fit in any kind of like extracurricular activities whatsoever, let alone being tennis. So really that time was just work, gym, and study. And
Yeah.
then up until 2019 or the end of 2018 or 2019, where I left the consultant firm and have more of like a flexibility lifestyle with my new company, the company that I work for now, which is an awesome company. I was able to find tennis again. So I actually started playing tennis up there, joining a league. Um, and met one of some very cool tennis people that I never really had a chance to meet,
Yeah.
which is so unfortunate because 2019 to when the pandemic hits is so short. And I met those guys, and one of those guys, he moved down from San Francisco
Yeah,
as well.
Jeff.
Jeff Fergie, he's
Oh, yeah.
amazing guy. So I play with his league, and then all of a sudden, the pandemic hit, and then when the pandemic hit, I did, you know, made a decision to say, okay, everywhere got shut down in San Francisco. I rented a car and drove back and stayed with you and mom.
Yeah,
And
and I
then-
mean, like, I guess just to kind of go back on it too, like, I think that's where like I guess the common ground is, right? Like for me, like, I was in college at the time, and literally, I would go because I studied computer science,
Yeah.
and so like I would go into the lab like maybe like 7 a.m. and then come back at like maybe 12 a.m. and
Yeah.
it would just be like that
Yeah.
constantly every day for like the whole quarter or something like that.
Yeah.
And so like honestly, with that small amount of time, there's just no way that I was able to kind of find any sort of time in between to do anything else like
Yeah, the thing,
physical
well,
activity.
for me, the difference between our story is that um, the reason why I think your story is more impressive is because for me, I actually still I was going to the gym and running and keeping up with like my physical fitness. I would go running on the treadmill. I would do like minimal weightlifting, not like crazy amount of like
Yeah.
weightlifting, but I still do somewhat keep up with my physical activity. Whereas you literally was not doing anything, just
Yeah.
school
Yeah,
stuff.
pretty-
Like sometimes you would
much.
go to the gym. I remember when coming back, and we would go
maybe
to the
like
gym together.
maybe like
But,
once half
yeah,
once every half
yeah.
a year.
And then we would actually go play tennis during like that, but it was just only like a one-time thing. It was not something serious up until the pandemic.
And so the pandemic hits, and we were probably locked inside the house for 2 months. We quarantined for like a month
yeah.
and a half, 2
Two-
months.
a month and a half,
Like
2 months.
like of legit not even going outside. Like we don't even open our doors to go
Yeah,
outside.
yeah,
I remember that.
It was crazy.
And it was the weirdest time to just, like when once we got back into the car and started driving, it was just like the weirdest feeling. And so like I mean, during the pandemic while we were quarantined, like we tried to find like every like little tiny things here and there to do. Like we tried to, bought a ping pong table and we played with it for a little bit.
Yeah.
And I think like that was just like what really inspired us a little bit to kind of get back into it. And like I also remember Long, our friend Long, like I think he messaged you or messaged the group or something like that, and he was like, "Oh, like you can crawl through the fence or something."
Oh, yeah.
in order to kind of hit against the wall.
Yeah. So an important thing here to note is like, that's when like that the long situation was he reached out to us to me, and then we start doing the tennis thing. So me, Long, and John, we would go to hit against the wall first, and then we would start finding court that is actually open for us to kind of play.
Yeah.
But it's important to note that during that time you still wasn't into tennis yet.
No.
So you were into it for a little bit, but not really like fully going to the drill like we're about to walk the audience through.
No. Yeah. And so I think eventually, like it was just like the whole quarantine thing was kind of lifted a little bit. It was like
Yeah.
less it was more lenient, and so we were like, okay, we need something to do. Like at least like you started playing tennis again,
Yeah.
and I was like, oh my gosh, like I'm just inside the house. I'm not really doing anything. Like I really want to, at this point in time, just really change up something about my like routine a little bit, because at this point in time I just do not feel great, because like it's just like I was the most overweight like I've ever been in my entire life.
Yeah.
And so like I needed something to kind of do.
Yeah, that's actually one of the things that I like. I usually remember the stuff well, but that's the one thing I don't remember about your side of thing is I was going through and doing my own thing with my friend and playing tennis with them pretty much on like not every single day,
Yeah.
but still like 2 or 3 times a day. But like how did you get back into like knowing like coming with me and then knowing like Long and playing tennis with them? Did you just come along or something?
So I think what initially sparked my interest again was actually not the pandemic, but it was more like our trip to Europe. It was to France, and I was watching you and Adeline and Alexi play, And
Wait,
then I was on the other court.
wait, that was before the pandemic.
Yeah, it was before it was
Oh,
like kind of like what sparked it a little bit.
oh,
It was like at the back of my mind, like always. I was playing with Young on the other side. Like I remember that like very vividly. Like I was playing with her, and then I was like, man, like I at that point I was like, I really wish that I'm able to play tennis like these guys.
oh, I see.
It was always been in the back of my mind, and so like the pandemic hit, and it was like that sort of like call to action for me.
Yeah.
It was just like, okay, this is the opportunity for me to change up everything about my lifestyle a little bit and just take on something new again. Or I mean, not new, but like, you know, just take it on again.
And it was a good and it was a good thing, I guess, because if anything at that time, you didn't really have to go outside of like your comfort zone way too much. The reason why I say that is because it was the time where everybody uses any kind of physical activity as a chance to be outside.
Yeah.
Like people going like, you know, like all those hashtag on social media, like
Yeah.
go outside and play safely or something along that line. So
And tennis
so-
was like the most like
yeah.
socially distanced sport there was at the
yeah,
time.
yeah,
And
it was
like,
one of the more promotional sport to say like you can be safe and play tennis.
yeah, like I mean now it's like with pickleball and stuff, but like before it was like tennis, and I think that was kind of like the bulk of like I mean like I've seen a lot of YouTubers and stuff like tennis content creators that are like they've started again, or like even tennis pros, they started again during the pandemic.
Yeah.
It was kind of like the reset for a lot of people, and so that was it for me. And so, you know, at first like I started going out there, and it was like learning like everything over again, and like everything just felt like super heavy.
I want to actually hone in on that because that's very interesting, right? You actually you start playing tennis and you learn the technique and all that stuff.
Yep.
And you had a two-handed backhand when you started out.
Yeah.
I want you to kind of like really talk about the transformation because when you picked up tennis again, the techniques that you had during the first few months that you start playing tennis is the technique that you've learned when you were 10 or 12. So you didn't lose it, but you had a very limited skill set, for lack of a better word. So
Yeah.
the serve I remember was exactly like the serve that you had when you stopped playing. The backhand was in a similar fashion, and the forehand. I think like the most well toned shot that you had when you actually started again was actually the forehand side.
Yeah.
And then yeah, I'll let you talk about like how that transformed up until this point today.
The really big thing that helped me was at the time was just like watching YouTube videos and stuff. I remember just like just studying, and then also just having like another screen open that just had like I don't know, like slow motion of a forehand hit by Federer, Nadal, or Djokovic or something like that. And I would just be constantly watching matches and just every day just trying to do sort of the same thing that they do. I would watch a whole bunch of like different tutorials on like footwork and all that stuff. At the time when when we first started again during the pandemic, like you said, I started with a two-handed backhand, and that has never been like very comfortable for me. Especially like me being at my like heaviest, it's just like it just felt like my body just didn't permit me to do so.
Yeah.
Like there was like very limited motion, and I just like there's just no flexibility for me to be able to use the two-handed backhand.
Yeah.
But I still stuck with it for like maybe a few months, and so I think that was the moment where I was like, you know, let's try the one-handed backhand and see how it is.
And we bought a ball machine.
We did buy a ball machine,
Yeah.
and I think
then you practiced it with it.
that's what helped us quite a bit too.
Yeah.
Like that was like definitely like a big step up for us, because with the ball machine we're able to kind of like achieve like repetitions and stuff, and so like that helped us to kind of improve on our just like, you know, learning process
Yeah.
in general.
It's a combination. I think you mentioned it very well. Is that ball machine allow repetition, but then a lot of about just learning anything is the ability to like watch other people do it and then intake it and then actually transition into it in practice and repetition. And I still remember like when you were hitting, when you start to actually feel the ball on your backhand side very well, the sound is different, and it was very good.
Yeah.
You know, the funny thing, like an analogy that I was thinking of as you was talking about like this transformation is, you remember the movie Kung Fu Hustle
Oh yeah.
with Stephen Chow?
Yeah.
Like when he in the beginning of that movie, I don't want to ruin for the audience who haven't watched it yet. It's a great movie. You should check it out. But how I compare you to his story is that in the beginning of the movie, he was kind of like this person who just like tried to learn kung fu. Like he know the basic step, and he was just hitting
Yeah.
like people, and then he just always get beat up.
Yeah.
And then when he went through that process, when he actually he was killed, right?
Yeah.
He was killed. He was trying to like fight some people who's really good, and then they end up killing him. And then the people who were like the real kung fu master, they
Yeah.
sort of like revive him and put him into like sort of like a mummy or something like that.
Yeah.
And he always have like an inner power that he never realized it,
Yeah.
but until he got killed, and then they put him in like a mummy thing, and then all of a sudden, like it just you remember that scene? Like
Yeah,
you
yeah,
can
yeah.
like
He just
it
like
just-
broke open.
he just
yeah.
broke open, and he becoming like an incredible kung fu master. Like,
Yeah.
like he just realized like this very little bit of like energy inside that he kept his entire life,
Yeah.
and then he just realized it, and he just become incredible.
So you're saying like the analogy is that like my being like super
Yeah.
overweight was kind of like the death.
The death of it, yes,
Yeah.
like it allow you to unleash that innate ability that you never realized up until that point, and then you just become super good. That's
Yeah.
how I met. Like that's pretty incredible.
I mean, like I guess a little bit different from that is just like
But you
there's
did- is that
definitely
you didn't
lot,
die.
There's that, and then also like there's an incredible amount of work that had to be put in. Like I think that's definitely cannot be
Yes.
overlooked, because like yeah, we started playing pretty much every day.
Yeah.
At first it was like maybe 3-4 times a week because of school and stuff, but once I finished school, it started being like pretty much every day.
Yeah, that's right. When you started, when that's one of the thing I appreciate. Well, the positive about the pandemic is like the flexibility of being able to work from home and having awesome, workplace
Yeah.
and colleagues that allows you to do it. So definitely a very big positive. But yeah, when you started to go to work and everything like that, and find that flexibility to be able to play every day, it was a very very big thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I think within a span of like maybe a year, playing every day, I probably lost like maybe 30 pounds at the time. And then at that point, it was like, okay, like we kind of reached like sort of a threshold. And so like, we're like, oh, how can we like improve that even more? And so I think eventually we started like changing up our diet and stuff a little bit as well. That like made a world of difference. And it just shows that like, it's not only physical activity, but like also your diet as well.
Yeah.
And so that made me drop like maybe another like 20 pounds.
Yeah.
And so like in total, like ever since the pandemic started, I've probably lost about like 50 pounds. And like right now, like I feel like I'm in the best shape of my life. I'm like, I think right now I'm like around 150 pounds. But yeah, like I know, I think like it definitely changed my life for like the better in
Yeah.
terms of like just health wise.
Yeah, I think the physicality is very important, and I think the mental side of it is very very important too. I can talk about a little bit how like it helps me on the mental side of thing is, um, when we have like everyday desk job, is pretty much like sitting down every day, or just if you have a standing desk, you're just
Yeah.
standing in one spot, and then countless meeting every single day, to a point where just like it's just your brain is kind of like fried. And it's the same thing when I was at the consulting firm.
Yeah.
The consulting firm is like when you get to that stage, like your brain is just kind of like, in a sense, like for me, it's just stopped working.
Yeah.
So when it comes to those situations, I find it extremely helpful for me to just kind of like, okay, if I don't have anything else in terms of meeting, I'm going to stop. I'm going to go work out outside, or I'm going to go play tennis. And after that, really just after 1 hour of just pure exercise, I feel like really good adrenaline rush through that point. And there's definitely like scientific behind it, but I'll explain it from my end. Is that I feel motivated.
You
I go
feel
back more
energized.
energized. I went back and I can work really focused on like the actual work for the rest of the day and become super efficient.
Yeah.
Where everybody's different, but for me, my brain after like workout, after like that, even though there was like a long stressful period, went to work out, and play tennis. I go back, I feel energized, and it just actually clicked faster than like how I started my day.
I
So
agree.
like the mental aspect of it, yes, it makes you happy, but like for work wise, it pushes me like super good. So I was like, it works well for me from the mental side too.
Yeah, it definitely helps a lot. Like tennis is that definitely that outlet for me, to where like I'm feeling stressed, I go play tennis and I come back, and like my body is just very energized. Like I have a completely like like my mind is just a
Yeah,
lot more.
yeah. The brain functionality just it really beneficial for me.
Yeah.
And it's like I mentioned, right? Like back in the day when I didn't play tennis in San Francisco, I would go to work out after the gym in 24-hour, and
Yeah.
like the exercise aspect of it just make my brain so much better. Whereas, if you take like naps or something like that,
Yeah.
I actually I feel more drowsy waking
Yeah.
up from a nap.
You feel kind of like groggy
Yeah,
waking up.
yeah, from a nap than actually going out to play tennis. But then again, everybody's different. People like, that's how it's like most effective for me. Now, I kind of want to talk about like the other motivational aspect of us, like pushing us, is to meet a lot of people out there on the court, right? So like I feel like had it just been me and you just play tennis by ourselves at like a court that has nobody there, we would still get better. But the reason why we have been so motivated is because the community that we have
Oh
seen.
yeah, no, like definitely like the tennis community is incredible. Like everybody is like there to like encourage you. Nobody's gonna be there to just like poke fun of you, like at you or anything. Like they're not gonna be like, oh, like you like you're not playing well or something like
Yeah.
that. Like they're there and they're always like willing to help you,
Yeah.
and always just like super welcoming. And I'm just super glad that we were able to kind of meet these type of people out there.
Yeah, and I think it just speaks not only in tennis term, but also in anything, like in everything that you do. If you surrounded yourself with people who are, it doesn't really matter the level,
Yeah.
but people always love what they're doing, and love what you kind of have the same objective, and you surround yourself with a good community of people who want to work towards that objective. You're gonna have more motivation in becoming better and
Yeah.
actually wanting to go out there and improve every single day.
Yeah.
And yeah, it just really applies to like pretty much
and,
a lot of aspects.
and I feel like I just owe like everybody out there like so much like credit, because like they honestly, like I feel like if I didn't have anybody to play with, or like just if I play with people that are just kind of beginners, like, or like the same as me, I just won't feel like I'll be able to improve just like as fast as I am, like playing with you. And like I owe like everybody out there like a lot, for where I am today in terms of my fitness, and then just in terms of like tennis level as well. Cause yeah, and it's really important to be able to have people that are like way higher than your level, and like be able to play with them, because that really, it's like it encourages you, not forces you, but encourages you to try to play up to that level, and eventually you're just gonna be like used to it, and because you have to eventually like adjust the way that you play in order to hang with them.
Yeah.
And so
W-
it definitely
Yeah,
is important.
it's kind of I'll plan this seed for the future episode, but it's kind of going into like the this aspect that we're talking about right now. Is you go out there, you feeling motivated physically and mentally, and one of the most important thing that get you to this level today is your ability to receive feedback from a variety of sources, but then also you have to like willing to try it and make a mistake
Yeah.
in doing it.
Yeah.
Right, like I think it's important for you to be able to do that. Just again, not just in tennis, but in general. Like
no, I would say that we both went through like a lot of changes quite a lot of changes, and it was just due to like us, like taking different advice from people out there, and implementing what we need, like what is really important in order to improve our game. Um, like especially in the beginning with like Xavier, and he's like giving us these sort of drills to kind of do. And I was looking through like some of your old videos of you playing tennis, and it was just like completely different.
Yeah.
Like even like I think you posted a video of you playing like a few points or something with Long or something like that. Like 2019 or 2020, some of that. Like compared to now, like it like that video, it didn't look great. Like
Yeah.
I don't know if you look back at it,
Mm.
but it like the movement of the feet, um, like the
Yeah.
strokes and stuff, it's just nothing
Just
compared to how it is now for
yes.
you.
No, like sometime I went back to those video and I see it, and then I immediately stop seeing it because I don't want like for me one of the thing that I'm scared of is if I looked at all those things I'm gonna revert
Yeah,
back to
it's
them.
kind of a superstition. Like it's
It's
kind
my
of weird.
superstition. Yes.
Yeah, but no, like I was watching that video. I was like, holy cow! Like you like even on your end, like within 2 years, we were able to make so much progress.
Yeah.
Like in terms of like just everything, like your movement and everything. Like I was watching the video and you didn't. There was no split step.
Yeah.
There was like everything looked like very stiff, and just like it was just completely different than how like you play right now, and like how we both play right now.
Yeah.
So it was just like crazy that to see that was only like 2-3 years ago now.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. Yeah. Yeah. We'll get into the technicality stuff more when in the down episode. But yeah, purely I think it's a big transition. It does worlds of good for the both of us, mentally and physically. So I'm really glad that we were able to do it, and we have opportunity in our daily life where it allow us to see each other and play tennis with each other every single day. I think that's all comes down to that. Sometimes I take it for granted.
Yeah.
I really do. And so like there's frustrating days out there, and then I come back home and I'm like, why am I so frustrated? What was that worth for? Like I think at the end of the day, I'm just very grateful for the fact that we were able to see each other every day and play tennis with one another. Because up until this point in our life, I don't think we grew up and we have a lot of things. Well, we chatted as brothers, right? Like
Yeah.
we would hang out. There's sometimes like we talk about certain things, but I think this sport, I'm very grateful for it. It's just because it allows like a common connection for the both of us to really connect, to play
Yeah.
tennis and to see each other every single day, which is why I think that would be very happy if he were to see the both of us today. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think that it was great because like it definitely brought like a common ground for the both of us. Like you were saying like like you take things for granted, but I think it's also like good to kind of hold like high standards because like that's how we're able to kind of improve
Yeah.
ourselves more,
Yeah.
and it's important to be able to push each other to do better by putting a little bit of pressure. But yeah, like it's completely fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, just with these sort of experiences, like I just hope that like it can be like sort of an inspiration for other people as well, because like tennis is like a super great sport. Like it's not like from the outsider's perspective, it's just again like two people hitting the ball back and forth, but there's just so many like layers of complexity to like the game. Like it's like mental, physical, and it's like very technical. And like in between those lines there's like watching tennis and like this great community of people that are like surrounding us, and it really brings everyone together like
Yeah.
once again with
Yep.
that.
Yep.
That's pretty much all we wanted to talk about today. Like hopefully it inspires you guys to get out there and try out tennis for yourself if you haven't already. But for the tennis community that we are talking to, I hope you guys enjoyed a little bit of our like our perspective and our journey back into tennis. We wanted to get a little bit personal with this episode just to kind of tell you a little bit more about ourselves. But yeah, that this concludes today's episode. I hope you guys have a great upcoming week ahead.
And look forward for our next episode. We'll be discussing a lot more fun stuff.
All
Thank
right.
you, everyone.
Thank you.
Arigato.